Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our interview called Voices Across Borders, Rethinking Bilingual Education in Colombia. So today we are with Mr. Toglan Butunde, who's the academic coordinator in a bilingual school here in Colombia. So good afternoon, Mister. How are you today?
I'm great. Good afternoon. Special greetings to each and every one of you. I'm more than happy to be part of this wonderful project. I'm at your disposal of any question you might have, willing to collaborate and then check together how can we improve the bilingual education in our wonderful country, Colombia.
Thank you, Mister. So could you tell us a little about your personal and professional background and how you came to work in a bilingual school in Colombia?
Okay, thanks for that question. Like I mentioned earlier, my name is Omotunde Oluwasegun Togla. I'm a Nigerian. I've been living in Colombia since the last 13 years. I arrived in Colombia during the presidency of President Santos, where we had this project called Colombia Bilingual. I'm a science teacher, I'm a biologist. I had the opportunity to travel to England to have a special program in international and foreign languages for 1 year, which was a program paid by the government. I won a scholarship to do that after my degree. And after that, I found myself exploring the world, traveling around the world, because I aim to visit, before I leave the world, before I die, I plan to visit 50 countries. Right now, I have traveled to 22 different countries. And Colombia was my last stop because I felt in love with the country, with the culture, with the people, with the food, and especially with the education, because I see it's an opportunity to improve Colombian education. And being an educator, I felt in love with the process and I felt committed to improving my school's process. Initially, I came as an exchange program with Colegio Cambridge in La Calera, where I was just there for 6 months as an exchange student. There, I met the principal of my school, Flavio Abel Urbano Torres, where he owns a school in Kennedy in the South. Then they wanted to become a bilingual school, and then they asked me to be part of that wonderful project. And today, looking back, the last 10, 11 years, being a bilingual institution, I've never had the opportunity to regret of being part of a new process, starting from scratch, giving what is called a bilingual education in the south of the city. And up to today, we can see good and wonderful results.
Thank you, Mr.
so much, Mr. Omotunde. Now, we would like to ask you, sorry, based on your experience, what similarities and differences have you noticed between bilingual education in Colombia and in other contexts, such as Nigeria or Canada? What lessons could Colombia learn from these cases?
That is a very interesting question. Actually, I tried to talk to my colleagues about that. I have noticed in Nigeria, in Toronto, in South Africa, because I've had the opportunity to work in those three countries and studied in those three countries, I noticed that in other countries, the bilingual education is like an ecosystem of the education. It means they make it part of the school's curriculum, not just for publicity, not just for marketing, but it is part of an ecosystem. And you know, an ecosystem is the combination of two or more languages to promote and to get a prosperous results. So I think that is the only thing Colombia is missing. Right now, we still see the bilingual education far in Colombia because it's not the center of the point. It's not like the main focus from the ministry, from the Secretary of Education, even for schools. It's seen as something far away, something like optional. That is why right now English in Colombia is still a foreign language. It's not yet a second language, but that is something that differentiates Nigeria. In Nigeria, we study English and French, but French is part of the curriculum, it's part of the ecosystem of the studies plan, and like that, all the student tends to take it serious. The same thing in Toronto, in Canada. In Toronto, I had the same opportunity also. It's in parts of the system. So I think that is one of the greatest reasons, differences I'm seeing between other countries and Colombia. We need to make the bilingual education an ecosystem of part of the education. Once it comes from the directives of the country, it means from the men, from SED, from Secretariat, then it could flow generally in the blood and the system of the teachers, the schools, all institutions in Colombia. I think that is one of the main differences I've been finding in Colombia up to date.
Oh, thank you. Now we have another question, and it's from your experience as a coordinator. What do you understand by a bilingual learning environment, and what characteristics should it have to be truly inclusive?
Okay, based on my experience from what I live in Santo Domingo Bilingual School, I consider we have a bilingual environment. Why do I say that? Because we have the following. Number one, clear language objective. It means the students can have the contents in both languages of every lesson they have. That gives them the opportunity to have a bilingual environment. Number two, we need to normalize translanguaging. It means we need to allow the students to speak from their mother tongue and also pass it to the other language, in this case, which could be English or French. Number three, the assessment process. We need to make the assessment process friendly for the students, have the criteria well defined, separate language from the control of the mastery of the intention of the acquisition of the language. So I think for me, that is what I've seen. That is what I've experienced here. And number four, just to add it up, we need to make English, we need to make other languages to be part of their own and visible signing languages. It means school events with decorations, with words, with text, with analysis, something that could be visible to all the community to see. And like that, you can say you have a bilingual environment. A bilingual environment consists of students having the possibility of using the language with the right purpose to develop their academic skills, their literacy abilities, and build their identity. If the students in a bilingual school can relate on the wall, Spanish and English, and I can have that translation, automatically it gives them a better result. That is why I consider to have a bilingual environment, it is important. The visual support, the visual aid, the decorations, the name, the settings, the instruction given to them should be in both languages, and it is easy to have a better result in that case.
Thank you, Mister. So now that you're talking about translanguaging and identity, I would like to ask you, talking about many bilingual schools in Colombia, that they focus mainly on English and sometimes they neglect in local languages and cultures, yes? At the same time, access to bilingual schools is often limited because of the money, because to privileged sectors. So what is your opinion on these tensions between internationalizations, inequality, and recognition of local diversity? Because as you know, here in Colombia, we have lots of indigenous languages.
That is true. But I'm going to talk based on my experience. I used to think the same thing initially, that the bilingual education can be given in a different part of the city. It means like in the north. And the people who live in the south, they might not be able to do it because of the cost. But I found out that it is not about the economical status or the resources to have a good bilingual process. The number one thing you need to do, we need to have in mind, is always the willingness to make a change. Like John Maxwell said, education is not just about repeating tradition. Education is about transforming your environment, that transforms generation upon generation. In this case, most of the schools think that I need huge financial resources to become bilingual, not knowing that to be bilingual is the same thing, is even easier than having students study mathematics, Spanish, and socials. The only thing we need to generate is a bilingual environment. I understand the fact about internationalization and the local recognitions. These guys with their local languages, the indigenes of Colombia, they love their language, they love their dialects. Just like in Nigeria, we love our dialects. But believe me, students of nowadays, community of nowadays, they are willing to open the door to new traditions, to new culture, because that is going to help them to improve the quality of life. It's going to help them to improve the safety and the security in the environment. It's going to help them improve to get better opportunities for their kids and the society. So in this case, I think most of the times we don't do this because of the fear, not because we need the economical resources. I have been able to begin a bilingual process in Suacha. I was able to authorize a school to become a bilingual school in Ciudad Bolivar. Right now, I'm working with a school in Diana Tobai, in Picota. So I see that it's not about the geographical zone, it's about the mindset. Because once you have the mindset of transforming education and the life of the student, you easily get it. The plan is there. The Common European Framework is there. You just have to align it with your curriculum in English, with your curriculum in science, and other subjects you offer in English that would allow the students to assimilate, sustain, and enjoy the local language by mixing it with English. Also, before I forget, bilingualism is not just about English language. Actually, it's the last on the list. If you want to get a good bilingual environment, you need to involve and bring in all the subjects that promote the environment in the students.
Thank you so much. And now that we are like on this path of bilingualism, I would like to ask you, in your view, how can bilingual schools contribute not only to language proficiency, but also to the formation of critical, inclusive citizens in a multicultural society?
I really love that, because at the end of the day, the bilingual education should help us improve the society. If you check, one of the benefits of being bilingual is that it allows students to improve their critical thinking. Actually, that is the base. That is the main purpose of being bilingual. That is the main purpose of having a bilingual school. If all the schools in Colombia, around the world, wants to focus on bilingual education, the number one objective should be improving students, citizens' critical thinking. How can they do that? Number one, argumentative essay writing and oral presentation. Because once the student needs to write an argumentative essay, it allows them to broaden their knowledge, broaden their point of view, go into a debate and see that my point of view might be different from other people because they have a different culture. Remember that the bilingual education reminds us, take us back to the roots, that without cultural aspects, you don't learn anything. For me to learn Spanish in Colombia, I had to learn the cultural parts. When I learn the cultural parts, it allows me to immerse completely into the language. So number one, argumentative essay, debates, community interviews, assessing ethical and collaboration programs that allows them to improve themselves. Also, it is important to start implementing in our school student voices. What does it mean, student voices? Make their voice heard, make them feel part and important of the process, make them go public, and like that, they can see that helps them to improve the critical thinking. There is a study on the internet in Finland. The best students in the world, according to them, are the ones who are bilingual because they have this broad critical thinking, and that allows them to get better results in the academic achievements and process.
Thank you. Now that you have been talking about the importance of bilingual learning environments, can you please tell us what are the main challenges teachers face when creating inclusive bilingual practices, and what advice will you give to pre-service teachers who wants to work in diverse contexts such as Bogota?
Thank you. You know, I'm a teacher, and sometimes I have to be honest with my colleagues. I have to be honest with the teachers. The main difficulty we have as teachers, number one, we like to overwork our students. What do I mean by overwork? We think the materials, the textbooks from the editorials, from Richmond, from Cambridge, from Pearson is what is going to make the student bilingual, but no, it only takes them back, because they don't learn based on the textbook, they learn based on the teacher's connection. There's a saying that says if there's a connection between the teacher and the student, obviously the student tends to improve and learn in a better way. So the number one challenge, overload of materials. We like to incorporate different books, different platforms, and at the end of the day, the students don't learn anything. Number two, most of the teachers are not fair when it comes to the assessment process. You don't respond well in class, I give you a 1, a 0, or 2. Not because I'm not assessing your language proficiency. I'm just assessing the use of language, which sometimes is not the most important. The most important here is the proficiency of the language. Can the student use the language? Does the student master the language? It's not about the grammatical parts. It's about the use of language in a real context. Number three, something I have noticed from the teachers, we don't know how to manage and coordinate our time. Sometimes we begin today's section from, I don't know, from the number one skill, reading. Number two, we jump to another one. Number three, we jump to another one. And at the end of the day, there's no correlation between what we are teaching. So it's not aligned across the subject, across the curriculum, and that is just time and coordination. That is what I think. And then the last one, which I think is really important, that the government needs to take into account, professional development. Many teachers are not developing. That is why they cannot develop the students. I consider that is the most difficult challenge, because the teacher just goes to the university, graduate because he or she needs to graduate, but there is no professional development. And like that, you don't know if you actualize, you don't know if the students can learn in a different way, you're just in the same path, and that allows us to be blindfolded. We don't get to actualize, and like that, we cannot actualize our students. I think those are the 4 difficulties and challenges I've seen with my colleagues in Bogota in this case.
Thank you so much. And now, like, we have a final question, and it's now that we are talking about diversity, and like in languages, we would like to ask you, how does the cultural diversity of teachers, in this case, and the visibility of languages in school, for example, messages or posters, influence relationships with the students and reflect linguistic and cultural diversity?
Oh, that is amazing. I remember when I was living in the United States, I was part of a program, the dual program. I had the opportunity to be a dual teacher for 1 year. I didn't like it because there were 6th and 7th graders, and those guys, no, it wasn't easy for me then. But I had the opportunity to work in the dual program, and then I could mix content and the language. That is one of the things I would never forget as a teacher, as a language teacher, because then I had the real possibility to mix content and language. I could go into vocabulary, discoveries, history, and then that brought the memory, brought it closer to the student, because this is not about teaching grammar. It's the content plus the language that gives you the dual program. The second one, something I really remember that worked for me, was co-planning. Always I sit down with my colleague, we plan together to get to an achievement. It means in dual program, I teach science and English. My other colleague teaches socials and maths. By coming to sit down together, we get lab reports, we get explanation, we get arguments, we get debates, we get essays from the students, but with the same intention of dual. So in that kind of thing, I think the diversity, the teachers broadening up their schedule, their abilities, and mixing up with other teachers would give them the diversity in teaching and learning for the student. Because sometimes we think we know all, but maybe with another teacher, co-planning, I can get a better result, because the teacher is going to go content and language. I'm going to go content and language. And at the end of the day, the students can realize that the bilingual education is about mastering the content and the language in function in reality.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Togla, and thank you, Juan and Dana, for being here today. Thanks for your time and for your amazing answers. So God bless you, and see you next opportunity.
Thank you
so much.
See you guys. Let's keep promoting the bilingual education. This is the only way we can reduce violence in Colombia. We want to reduce violence. We want to give students opportunity. It has to be through bilingual education, because when I'm bilingual, I'm more tolerant. When I'm bilingual, I'm more respectful. When I'm bilingual, I'm more responsible. When I'm bilingual, my critical thinking IQ goes beyond 100%. That is what study shows us. I want to congratulate you, dear teachers, for this wonderful project. I'm sure and I'm convinced that if we have more people like you, we can have a quality bilingual education in our society today.
Thank you, boss.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you.